So let us discuss about greatest integer function. Greatest integer function. So let us say we have any real x. For any real x, greatest integer of function, this is represented in this way, right? So greatest integer of x is the greatest integer less than or equal to x, less than or equal to x. This is the definition of greatest integer of x, less than or equal to x. So this thing is defined in such a way that it is nothing but the greatest integer which is less than or equal to x. So I mean, for example, if I ask you greatest integer of 2.1, so you pause the video for a minute and you think about the answer by using the definition of this, right? You can understand the definition of this, right? Greatest integer of x is the greatest integer which is less than or equal to x. So try to pause the video and just think about the answer of this by just understanding the English which is written in the definition. So this is a test of your English. So greatest integer of 2.1 means what? It is the greatest integer which is less than or equal to 2.1, right? This is nothing but greatest integer less than or equal to 2.1, right? Now if I talk about the integers which are less than 2.1, integers which are less than or equal to 2.1 are what? They are 2, 1, 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3 and so on, right? So these are the integers which are less than or equal to 2.1, isn't it? Now what is the greatest integer less than or equal to 2.1? So these are the integers which are less than or equal to 2.1. Among all these integers, the greatest integer is what? It is 2, right? 2 is the greatest integer among all these integers. So the greatest integer which is less than or equal to 2.1 is how much? It is 2, right? So the greatest integer which is less than or equal to 2.1 is 2, right? So among all these integers, the greatest is 2. The greatest is 2. So the greatest integer less than or equal to 2.1 is nothing but 2, right? Just you need to go by the definition. Greatest integer of x is the greatest integer less than or equal to x. Fine. So this is also called step x. This is also called greatest integer function or step function, right? Or step function. So this is also called step x. Fine. So for example, let us say if I ask you what is the greatest integer of 3.5, right? So you can see that the greatest integer of 3.5 is the greatest of all the integers which are less than or equal to 3.5. So what are integers which are less than or equal to 3.5? So this is maximum of 3, 2, 1, 0, so on, right? Minus 1, minus 2 and so on. So these are the integers which are less than or equal to 3.5, right? These are the integers. Among this, the maximum one, that is the greatest one is what? It is 3, right? So the greatest integer which is less than or equal to 3.5 is 3. Fine. Similarly, let me ask you another example. What is the greatest integer of 5? That is step 5. Step 5 is equals to what? So this is nothing but the maximum or the greatest of the numbers which are integers less than or equal to 5. So what are integers which are less than or equal to 5? 5 is less than or equal to 5, 4 is less than or equal to 5, 3 is less than or equal to 5 and so on and so forth, right? So these are all the integers which are less than or equal to 5. Among this, the maximum one or the greatest one is what? It is 5. So the greatest integer of 5 is nothing but 5. Fine. Let us take one more example. If I ask you greatest integer of minus 1.3, right? The greatest integer of minus 1.3. So tell me what are the greatest, what are the integers which are less than or equal to minus 1.3? What are integers which are less than or equal to minus 1.3? So is minus 1 less than or equal to minus 1.3? No, right? This is false because minus 1 is greater than minus 1.3. So minus 1 is not a possibility. minus 2 is possible, right? Minus 2 is an integer and it is also less than or equal to minus 1.3. Similarly, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6 and so on, right? These are all the integers which are less than or equal to minus 1.3. Now among these all integers, what is the maximum one or the greatest one? So the greatest integer among all this is minus 2, right? So the greatest integer or the step of minus 1.3 is minus 2, right? I think that this is clear. So now let me just explain you what is the graphical meaning of this, and graphically you can understand in this way. So all of you, I think you know what is a number line, right? So we have a 0 in the center and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 and here there are negative numbers minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, right? So if I ask you where is root 2, root 2 will be between 1 and 2. So here there is somewhere root 2, right? If I ask you minus 2.7, then here it is minus 2.7, right? And if I ask you where is 3.5, here it is 3.5. And if I ask you where is minus 3.5, then here it is minus 3.5. So if I ask you greatest integer of any say any real number, right? So greatest integer of any real x is the integer just to the left of x, right? This is for non-integers, right? This is for non-integers. And greatest integer of any integer is the same integer. Greatest integer of any integer is the same integer. For example, greatest integer of 5, it is 5. Greatest integer of minus 3 is minus 3. Greatest integer of minus 4 is minus 4 only. Fine. So I think you can understand by the definition, right? Greatest integer of x means you need to take all the integers which are less than or equal to x, among that the greatest one. That's it. So greatest integer of x is nothing but the greatest integer which is less than or equal to x. So you just consider all the integers which are less than or equal to x, right? And among that you take the greatest one. This you can do, or otherwise you can think it in this way, that greatest integer of integer is same integer only. So greatest integer of 5 is 5, minus 3 is minus 3, greatest integer of minus 4 is minus 4. And if you have a non-integer, then you just need to take the integer which is just to the left of x, on the number line, right? So for example, if I take greatest integer of 2.5, so what is the integer just to the left of 2.5? Just left, it is 2, right? I mean, to the left of 2.5 you also have 2, you also have 1, you have to also have 0 and minus 1. All these are integers to the left of 2.5. But what is just left to the 2.5? Just left means 2 only, right? So greatest integer of 2.5 is 2. Similarly, greatest integer of minus 3.2. So where is 3.2? 3.2 is somewhere here, right? Minus 3.2. So what is the integer just left to the minus 3.2? Just left is minus 4. So this is minus 4, right? For example, if I ask you minus 1.000001, right? So this is also minus 2, because the minus 1.0001 is somewhere here and the integer just left to it is, sorry, minus 1 point something. This is somewhere here, right? Minus 1.0001, and the integer just left to this is minus 2. Fine. So I think this thing is very clear now. Yes. So for example, greatest integer of pi, this is nothing but greatest integer of pi is 3, right? Because pi is how much? It is approximately 3.14. It is not exactly 3.14 but approximately 3.14. Greatest integer of minus pi, this is greatest integer of approximately minus 3.14. This is minus 4, right? So greatest integer of 2.5 is 2, but greatest integer of minus 2.5 is minus 3. Yes. So greatest integer of 2 is 2, but greatest integer of minus 2 is minus 2. Fine. So I think now this is very clear what is meant by greatest integer of x. Fine. So let us just discuss some of the properties of greatest integer of x. So first property is that greatest integer of x is always less than or equal to x, right? This is the definition only. Greatest integer of x is what? It is the greatest integer which is less than or equal to x. So greatest integer of x is always less than or equal to x. This is always true. This is the definition only. and this will be definitely less than greatest integer of x plus 1, right? So this is the first property. Second is that if I ask you what is greatest integer x plus greatest integer of minus x, now you can see that if x is integer, the answer is 2 minus 2, that is 0. Otherwise the answer is 2 minus 3, that is minus 1, right? So this is 0 if x is integer, and this is minus 1 if x does not belongs to integer, right? So if x is an integer, then this is 0, otherwise it is minus 1. You can just verify it by taking so many examples, right? Yes. So next property is that greatest integer of say x plus integer, this is greatest integer of x plus integer where I is an integer, right? For example, if I ask you greatest integer of 2.3 plus 100, so you can write this as greatest integer of 2.3 plus 100 you can take out, right? If there is any integer, then you can directly take out of that step of that bracket. So this is 2 plus 100, which is 102, and directly if you compute, this is 102.3. So greatest integer of 102.3 is again 102 only, right? Yes. So I mean, these are some of the properties of the greatest integer of x. So now let us discuss what is fraction part of x. What is fractional part of x? So this is denoted in this way, curly bracket of x, right? So fraction part of x is defined as x minus greatest integer of x. X minus greatest integer of x. So if I ask you fractional part of 2.2, so this is nothing but 2.2 minus greatest integer of 2.2, that is 2.2 minus 2, that is 0.2. Fine. Fractional part of say 3.5, so this is 3.5 minus greatest integer of 3.5, so this is 3.5 minus 3, so this is 0.5, right? Fractional part of minus 1.5, so this is nothing but minus 1.5 minus greatest integer of minus 1.5, so this is minus 1.5 minus, what is greatest integer of minus 1.5? This is minus 2, right? Integer just left to minus 1.5 on the number line is minus 2. So this is again 0.5. Fine. So fraction part of, let us say, minus 5.7. This is minus 5.7 minus greatest integer of minus 5.7, right? So this is minus 5.7 minus minus 6, right? So this is 0.3. Fine. So fraction part of minus 5.7 is 0.3, fraction part of 2.2 is 0.2, fraction part of 3.5 is 0.5, and so on, right? So what is fraction part of say 5? It is nothing but 5 minus greatest integer 5, and since 5 is integer, right, then greatest integer x is equal to x, right, if x is integer. So this is 5 minus 5, this is 0. Fraction part of minus 3, this is minus 3 minus greatest integer of minus 3, and greatest integer of minus 3 is nothing but minus 3, that is again 0. So fraction part of x is 0 if and only if x is an integer, right? And greatest integer of x is equal to x if and only if x is an integer, right? So I think this thing is very clear. So what happens is, see, if there is any real number, say if I take for example say 7.2, then you can write this as 7 plus 0.2, right? So this is called the integral part or the integer part of 7.2, and this is called the fraction part of 7.2, fractional part of 7.2, isn't it? If you compute this greatest integer of 7.2, you will get 7 only, and fraction part of 7.2 you will get 0.2 if you try to compute. So this is happening because 7 is the integral part and 0.2 is the fraction part in this 7.2. So this is the, you can say, breakup of 7.2, right? So let us say if you have say 105 rupees, then you just say 100 plus 5 rupees chiller or 5 rupees change, right? So similarly, if you have 7.2, then 7 is nothing but the integral part and 0.2 is like change, so that is fraction part of 7.2. Fine. For example, say minus 3.5, then you can write this as minus 3 plus minus 0.5, but fraction part should always be positive, right? Fraction part should always be, I mean, non-negative. It can be 0 or positive. So you should not write fraction part of minus 3.5 as minus 0.5. Rather you should write this as minus 4 plus 0.5, and you can see that this minus 4 is called the integral part and this 0.5 is called the fractional part. Fine, fractional part of minus 3.5, and this is the integral part of minus 3.5. You can see that greatest integer of minus 3.5 is minus 4, so fraction part of minus 3.5 is nothing but 0.5. Fine. For example, if you have minus 3.3, then you can write it as minus 4 plus 0.7. So this is the integral part, that is minus 3.3, and this is the fractional part, that is fraction part of 3.3, right? For example, you have minus 10.2, then you can write minus 11 plus 0.8. So this is the integer part of minus 10.2, and this is the fraction part of minus 10.2, right? If you have said 10.2, then you can write it as 10 plus 0.2. So this is the integral part and this is the fractional part, right, of 10.2. 10.2, that is fraction part of 10.2. So you can see that the fraction part of 10.2 is 0.2, whereas fraction part of minus 10.2 it is 0.8, right? Because the condition on fraction part is it is always non-negative, right? So the fraction part of x, so let us say properties, fraction part of x is always greater than or equal to 0, but fraction part of x is always less than 1, right? So I can say that 0 is always less than or equal to fraction part x, and it is always less than 1, right? And fraction part of x is equals to 0 if and only if x is integer. Fine. And greatest integer of x is 0 if and only if x is integer, sorry, equals to x if and only if x is integer. Fine. So I think these properties are very clear, and you can see that if you add fraction point of 10.2 and fraction part of minus 10.2, you will get 0.8 plus 0.2, that is 1, right? So that is fraction part of x plus fraction part of minus x. This is 0 if x is integer, right? You can take example and you can clearly verify it, and it is 1 if x does not belongs to integer, right? And whereas greatest integer x plus greatest integer minus x, this is 0 if x is integer, right, if x belongs to z, and this is minus 1 if x does not belongs to the set of integers, right? So I hope that these things are very clear. Yes. So next thing, we already discussed one property of greatest integer x, so I am just repeating it, that greatest integer x is always less than or equal to x, and x is definitely less than greatest integer x plus 1, right? So you can see that 7.2, you can sandwich this between 7 and 8, right? So this is greatest integer x, this is greatest integer x plus 1, right? For example, you have 7, you can sandwich this between 7 and 8. So this is greatest integer of 7, this is greatest integer of 7 plus 1. If you have minus 3.5, then you can sandwich this between minus 4 and minus 3. So this is greatest integer x, this is greatest integer of x plus 1, right? X means here minus 3.5, right? So x you can always sandwich between two integers, that is greatest integer x and greatest integer of x plus 1. Fine. So let us see next property, that is greatest integer of greatest integer x. This is nothing but greatest integer x only, right? Because greatest integer x is integer, right? So greatest integer x is integer, so integer part of integer is same integer. Fine, right? And we have already studied this property, that is greatest integer of x plus integer is nothing but greatest integer x plus integer, right, where I is integer. Fine. So I think this is very clear. Next, say if you have greatest integer of greatest integer x by m, you can write this as simply greatest integer x by m. This is true if and only if m is a positive integer, that is m belongs to the set of natural numbers, then only this is true. Fine. So you can try to prove it, right? This is an exercise for you, try to prove it. Yes. So next, next property. So let us do this as a question only. So prove that greatest integer of x plus greatest integer of y is less than or equal to greatest integer of x plus y, right? So you can pause the video and try this if you want, otherwise then you can see the solution. So you see, greatest integer of x plus greatest integer y, this is what I need to prove, that this is less than or equal to greatest integer of x plus y combined. So first let us just check with example. See, greatest integer of 2.2 plus 3.2, this is how much? 2, this is 3, this is 5, and what is the sum? 5.4, this is also equal to 5. So equal to sign is there, so this is fine, right? And next, if I take say 2.3 and say 3.8, so this is 2, this is 3, so this is 5. Whereas if I add this, now this is 6.1, right? The 0.3, 0.8 and together added, when 0.3 and 0.8 together added, they have exceeded 1. So instead of 5 point something, we got a 6.1, then the greatest integer is 6, right? So 5 is clearly less than 6, you can see this, right? So the property is that greatest integer of x plus greatest integer of y is less than or equal to greatest integer of x plus y. So let us now prove it formally. See, x plus y is nothing but greatest integer x plus greatest integer y plus fraction part x plus fraction part y, right? Because what is the definition of fraction part x? This is nothing but x minus greatest integer x. So x is nothing but integer part plus fraction part, right? This we have seen so many examples. Any x, 7.2 is 7 plus 0.2, minus 4.2 is minus 5 plus 0.8. So any x is nothing but its integer part plus fraction part, right? So I have just written that only, that x plus y is greatest integer x plus greatest integer y plus fraction part x plus fraction part y, right? Now let us take greatest integer on both sides. So greatest integer of x plus y is greatest integer of this thing, right? I have just taken greatest integer function on both sides. You can take this, right? If x is equals to y, you can write greatest integer x is greatest integer y, right? So now you can see that these two are integers, so I can write this as, this integer part will come out, right? So I can take these integers outside, and this is greatest integer of fraction part x plus fraction part y, because what we have used the property that greatest integer of x plus integer is nothing but greatest integer x plus integer, right? Since these two are integers, I have just taken them outside of this big greatest integer, right? So now you see that fraction part x plus fraction part y, right? So finally we have greatest integer of x plus y is greatest integer x plus greatest integer y plus something where this something is positive, right? Because you know that fraction part x is always a non-negative, right? It is greater than or equal to 0. Fraction part y is greater than or equal to 0. So fraction part x plus fraction part y is definitely greater than or equal to 0, right? Also fraction part x less than or equal to 1, sorry, it is strictly less than 1, right? Fraction part is between 0 and strictly less than 1. So fraction part x plus fraction part y is strictly less than 2, right? If I add these two, then you see greatest integer of fraction part x plus fraction part y, this is also positive, right? I mean, this is also greater than or equal to 0. Say if fraction part x plus fraction part y, if on adding if I get 0.5, then this is equal to 0 only. But say if fraction part x and fraction part y on adding exceed 1, say if they come to be 1.2, then this will be 1, right? And greatest integer of fraction part x plus fraction part y, this is always less than, or you can say that this is always less than or equal to 1, right? So basically what I am trying to say is 0 is less than or equal to greatest integer of fraction part x plus fraction part y, this is less than or equal to 1, right? Fine. So then this is a positive constant, and this is this quantity plus some positive number. So clearly from equation 1 I can say that greatest integer of x plus y is definitely what, greater than or equal to greatest integer x plus greatest integer y, right? Because this is obtained by adding this to some positive number. So we had to prove that greatest integer x plus greatest integer y is less than or equal to greatest integer of x plus y, which we have proved, right? And also you can write this as this is less than greatest integer x plus greatest integer y plus 1, right? Because you see the maximum limit of this is what? 1 only. The maximum limit of greatest integer of fraction part x plus fraction part y is 1. So I can say that this is this plus maximum, it can be 1. So this is the property. Fine. So you can also extend this first property, that is greatest integer of x1 plus greatest integer of x2 plus greatest integer of x3 plus so on. Greatest integer of xn is less than or equal to greatest integer of x1 plus x2 plus so on plus xn, right? This is just nothing but I have extended this to, I mean, say, that is I have just extended this property to n numbers. Fine. So I think that these things are very clear. Now let us do one question. Say find number of multiples of 3 which are less than 100. So number of multiples of 3 which are less than 100. So you can just pause the video and try this, a very simple question. So see, multiples of 3 which are less than 100 are what? 3, 6, sorry, say, let us say natural numbers, right? Natural number multiples of 3, right? So 3, 6, 9 and so on. Last is 99, right? So you'll get 33 multiples. You can see this is 3 into 1, 3 into 2 and this is 3 into 33. So there are 33 multiples, right? So you can also do in this way. This is nothing but 100 by 3, greatest integer of 100 by 3. So this is 33.33. So this is 33. Fine. Say find number of multiples of, say, 7 from 1 to 1000, right? So from 1 to 1000, how many multiples of 7? So this will be 1000 by 7, greatest integer, that is 7 1s are 7, 3 0, 7 4s are 28 and 2 0. So it is 7 2s are 14 point something. So this is 142, right? You can also check this 7 14 so on, and the last multiple will be some 990. It should be 7 1 7 2 9 7 4 28 1. Okay, it will be 994. So you can see that these are 7 into 1, 7 into 2 and up to 7 into 142. It will be 994. Fine. So let us see one more question. Find number of perfect squares from 1 to 200. From 1 to 200. So between 1 to 200 you will have 1 square, 2 square, 3 square and so on, 14 square, right? Because 15 square is 225 which will exceed 200. So that is 14 squares, right? Answer is 14 perfect squares. So this you can also write it as greatest integer of root 200. So root over 200 is nothing but 14 point something. So you will get 14 only. Fine. So let us say find number of perfect cubes from 1 to say again 200 only, right? So this is nothing but this time you will have 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, 4 cube, 5 cube, that's it, because 6 cube is 216 which is greater than 200. So this is also nothing but cube root of 200 and you take a greatest integer to that. So cube root of 200 is 5 point something, right? Because 5 cube is 125, 6 cube is 216. So cube root of 200 will be 5 point something, right? So this is greatest integer of 5 point something, that is 5. You will have 5 such numbers, right? So let us write this as a property that say number of positive integers less than or equal to n and divisible by m. Divisible by m means multiple of m. So this is nothing but greatest integer of n by m, right? Like we did greatest integer of 1000 by 3, right? Number of positive multiples of 7 which are less than 1000. So that is greatest integer of 1000 by 7. So similarly, number of positive integers which are less than or equal to n but divisible by m, that is greatest integer of n by m. Similarly, if I ask you number of perfect kth powers from 1 to n, is nothing but greatest integer of n power 1 by k, right? Just like we did cube root of 200, I mean how many perfect cubes are there from 1 to 200, that is less than 200, so you just take 200 power 1 by 3 and greatest integer, right? So if I ask you say number of perfect fourth power means 1 power 4, 2 power 4, so on till say 1000. So this is nothing but greatest integer of 1000 power 1 by 4. So now you need to check which one you will be getting. So 5 power 4 is 625, whereas 6 power 4 you will exceed 1000, right? You will get 1296. So this is nothing but 5 point something, so this is 5, right? Because 5 power 4 is 625, whereas 6 power 4 is 1296. So this is greater than 1000. So 1000 power 1 by 4 will be between 5 and 6, so that will be 5 point something, so its answer will be 5, right? So I think, I mean, these things are very clear. So let us do one question. Find the highest power of 2 in say 100 factorial. Find the highest power of 2 in 100 factorial. Let us try to understand what do I mean by this. Find the highest power of 2 in 100 factorial. See, I have given you some questions in assignment when I asked you to find number of factors of 8 factorial. So you just wrote 8 factorial as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and you prime factorized it, right? So you checked how much power of 2 is there. So this is 2 power 1, this is 2 power 2, this is, here you will have 1, 2, right? And here you will have 2 cubes. So you wrote 2 power 1 plus 2 plus 1, that is 4 plus 3, 7. So in 8 factorial, the highest power of 2 is 7, right? You are getting this, right? So the highest power of 2 in 100 factorial means, see, 100 factorial is a very big number, that is 1 into 2 into 3 up to 100. It is a very large number. If you do the prime factorization of that number, what will be the power of 2 in that? That is the question, right? So let us try to see that. See, 100 factorial is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 98, 99, 100, right? So you see, in odd numbers you won't get any power of 2, right? In odd numbers you won't get any power of 2. So I am just writing 2, 4, 6, 8 up to 98, 100 and 1, 3, 5, 7 in other bracket, right? So from all these things I can take 1, 2 common, right? So if I take 1, 2 common, these are 50 numbers, so I will get 2 power 50 into 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 and up to 50. And this is as it is, right? This thing is as it is. Is this clear? So from each and everything I take 2 common, there are 50 numbers, so we will get 2 power 50. Now see, in this there is no power of 2 because all these are odd numbers, and now here you can again take 2, 4, 6 up to 50 and there are still some odd numbers, that is 1, 3, 5 up to 49, and this thing is as it is, 1, 2, 1, 3, 5 up to 99. And now you see all these are even numbers, so among these each number has a 2 in it, so you can take 2 common in each number, you will get 2 power 25 because these are 25 numbers, so you will get 1, 2, 3 up to 25 and remaining as it is, right? So you will get 2 power 50 into 2 power 25, and then here you see again I am repeating the same thing, that 2, 4, 6 up to 24 and then 1, 3, 5 up to 25 and this thing, right? All these are odd, no contribution to 2, right, from these odd numbers. So you see 2 power 50, 2 power 25, and these are again even numbers, and these are how many even numbers? 12 even numbers. So this time 2 if I take common, I will get 2 power 12. So this is 1, 2, 3 up to 12, and all these odd numbers are as it is. So this is 2 power 50, 2 power 25, 2 power 12, and from this again you can take even numbers separate, right, up to 12, and then you can just separate the odd things, right? Now you take 2 common from each and every term here again, right? So there are 6 even numbers, so 2 power 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is odd, right? So this is 2 power 50, 2 power 25, 2 power 12, 2 power 6, and see here again you can separate it 2, 4, 6 and odd. So 2 power 50, 2 power 25, 2 power 12, 2 power 6, and if you take 2 common from each number you will get 1, 2, 3, right? Again this is odd. So this is 2 power 50, 2 power 25, 2 power 12, 2 power 6, 2 power 3, and again you can take 2 common and 1, 2, 3, right? So you will get 2 power 50, 2 power 25, 2 power 12, 2 power 6, 2 power 3, 2 power 1, and into some odd number, right? So what is the highest power of 2 in 100 factorial? The highest power of 2 is this one. So highest power of 2 in 100 factorial is nothing but 50 plus 25 plus 12 plus 6 plus 3 plus 1, right? So 75 plus 12, this is 87, plus 10, this is 97, right? So I think the question is clear to you and the solution is also very clear. So question is asking that if we prime factorize this 100 factorial, what is the power of 2, highest power of 2 we are getting. So I just took out all the even numbers on one side and all the odd numbers on other side, because odd numbers will not have any 2 power in them, right? So these won't contribute to power of 2. So I just repeated the process again and again, and finally I got this one, that is 50 plus 25 plus 12 plus 6 plus 3 plus 1, right? So you can see that 50 is nothing but this is greatest integer of 100 by 2, right? This is 50, and again greatest integer of 50 by 2 you will get 25, greatest integer of 25 by 2 you will get 12, right? Greatest integer of say 12 by 2 you will get 6, greatest integer of 6 by 2 you will get 3, and greatest integer of 3 by 2 you will get 1, and again if you do greatest integer 1 by 2 you will get 0. So that's why you stop till here, fine. Also I mean you can write this 50 as greatest integer of 100 by 2, and you can write 25 as greatest integer of 100 by 2 square, and you can write this 12 as greatest integer of 100 by 2 power 3, right? And then you can write this 6 as greatest integer of 100 by 2 power 4, and you can write this 3 as greatest integer of 100 by 2 power 5, and you can write this 1 as greatest integer of 100 by 2 power 6, and if you do 100 by 2 power 7 greatest integer, that will be 0, right? So we are just using this property that greatest integer of greatest integer n by m is nothing but greatest integer of n by m, right? So I mean to compute this power of 2 you can just repeat this process, right? For example, let us compute the power of 3 also. Find highest power of 3 in 100 factorial. So 100 factorial is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and so on up to 97, 98, 99, 100. So now you try to understand that from where you will get 3, contribution of 3, you will get from the multiples of 3 only. 3, 6, 9, 12, these only will contribute the power of 3, right? The numbers 2, 4, 5, are they going to contribute 3? No. So you will get 3 from multiples of 3 only. And how many multiples of 3 are there? There are 33 multiples of 3, that we have done already, 100 by 3 multiples of 3. So you will get 3 power 33. Okay, let me just do it step by step. So this is 3, 6, 9 up to 99, and the rest thing as it is 1, 2, 4, 5, right? So from this each and everything you can take 3 common, you will get 3 power 33, and you will get 1, 2, 3 up to 33 and this thing, right? So again in this the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9 and up to 33, right? And something which is not a multiple of 3. So 3 power 33, and this again you can take 3 common. This time there are 11 3's, right? So 3 power 11 into 1, 2, 3 up to 11 and something like this. In this there is no contribution of 3 because there is no multiple of 3. So you have 3 power 33, 3 power 11 into this is say, let us take 3 multiples common again, right? And let us leave out the numbers which are not a multiples of 3. So again you can take 3 common, you will get 1, 2, 3, and let us just leave this out. So 3 power 33, 3 power 11, 3 power 3, and from here you will get 3 and 1 into 2 as it is, and just leave these numbers which are not a multiple of 3. So you can see what is the highest power of 3 in 100 factorial. So highest power of 3 in 100 factorial is nothing but 33 plus 11 plus 3 plus 1, right? 44 plus 4, 48. Fine. So also, I mean, you can do this in this way: 100 by 3, this is 33, and 33 by 3, this is 11, and 11 by 3, this is 3 point something, so 3. 3 by 3, this is 1, and if you do 1 by 3, if you continue, you will get 0 only. Next again you will get 0 only. So if you add this, you will get this answer. Fine. So the thing is, if you want to find highest power of any prime p, highest power of a prime p, remember this should be a prime. You can't find highest power of 4 or something like that. You can only find highest power of prime p in n factorial. So this is nothing but greatest integer of n by p plus greatest integer of n by p square plus greatest integer of n by p cube, and so on, yeah, till you get a 0. You can do this process. Fine. So I think this thing is very clear to you. So let us do one question. Find number of zeros at the end of say 100 factorial, right? Find the number of zeros at the end of 100 factorial. So see, you need to find the number of zeros at the end of 100 factorial, right? 100 factorial is a big number, right? It is 1 2 3 4 5 and so on up to 100, right? This is what you mean by 100 factorial. Now you need to find at this end of 100 factorial how many zeros are there. So you can see that there will be 10, there will be 20, which will contributing zeros, right? If you multiply by a 10, then only you will get 0, right? So what is the basic funda of getting a 0, right? To get a 0 at the end, you need to have contribution of 2 and 5, right? So to get a 0 at the end, you need a 2 and a 5, right? Because 2 into 5 will give you 10, and this 10 will be the cause of getting a 0, right? So even if you take say 10 factorial, see this 2 and this 5 will contribute 10, this will make 1 0, and this 10, inside this 10 we have 2 into 5 only, right? Inside 20 what do you have? You have 2 into 2 into 5, so you have 2 and 5 inside 20 also. So that this 2 and 5 is only contributing to zeros, right? So if I just talk about primes, each and every combination of 2 and a 5 will contribute 1 0, right? So each and every contribution of 2 and 5 will contribute a 0. So each and every contribution of 2 and 5, each and every combination of 2 and 5 will contribute a 0. Each and every combination of 2 and 5 will contribute a 0 at the end of the number, right? So this is the thing. So it means what? If I prime factorize this 100 factorial, I can prime factorize 100 factorial, right? So if I prime factorize 100 factorial, what is the highest power of 2 in 100 factorial? So find power of 2 in 100 factorial. What is power of 2 in 100 factorial? That we already did, right? 100 base 2, 100 by 2 square, 100 by 2 cube, 100 by 2 power 4, right? 2 power 5, 2 power 6, and 2 power 7, you will get 128, so that will be 0. So this is 50, 25, 12, 6, 3 and 1. So this, if you add 75 plus 12, 87 plus 10, 97, right? So the power of 2 in 100 factorial is 97. And let us find the power of 5 in 100 factorial. Find power of 5. Find power of 5 in 100 factorial. So that will be 100 by 5 plus 100 by 5 square, right? That's it. 100 by 5 cube will be 125, so that will be 0 only. So this is nothing but 100 by 5, 20. 100 by 25 is how much? 4. So this is 24. So if you try to understand, if I factorize 100 factorial, you will get 2 power 97, 3 power something, 5 power 24, right? You can prime factorize any number. So you can prime factorize 100 factorial also. So you'll get 2 power 97, 3 power something. I think we calculated 3 power, right? 3 power, how much you got? 3 power you got 48, right? So 3 power 48, 5 power 24, and 7 power something, 11 power something, 13 power something, and so on and so forth, right? So now the question is how many zeros it will have at the end. So to have a 0 we need 1 2 and 1 5, right? So I can write this 2 power 97 as 2 power 24 into 2 power say this is 73, right? 3 power 48, 5 power 24, and 7 power something, 11 power something, and 13 power something, and so on. So this 2 power 24, 5 power 24, this will combine and give 10 power 24, and this is 2 power 73, 3 power 48, 7 power something, 11 power something, 13 power something, 17 power something, and so on and so forth. So the question is how many zeros, that is you will have 24 zeros at the end, right? Because the power of 10 is 24, right? So this single 2 power 73, I mean this only 2 can't help, right? Only 2 can't contribute to 0. With 2 you need support of 5, then only 2 into 5 will make a 0. So you will have 24 zeros at the end of 100 factorial, right? So in general you can see that, see 5 power will be lesser compared to 2 power, right? That is by formula only. You can see that this is 100 by 5, this is 100 by 2, so this will be larger number, this will be smaller number. So definitely directly you can compute power of 5, and that will be the number of zeros, because power of 2 will be more than power of 5 only, right? So if you want to find number of zeros, just you can compute the highest power of 5, that will be the number of zeros. Fine. So I think this is clear to you. So let us do one more question. Find number of zeros at the end of say 2000 factorial, right? So I'm just counting the power of 5. So 2000 by 5, greatest integer is 400, and you can do 2000 by 5 square, or you can just do this one also, 400 by 5, again that is same thing. So 5 80s are 400, and 80 by 5 this is 16, 16 by 5 this is 3, right? And 3 by 5 this will be 0. So power of 5 is how much? 400 plus 80 plus 16 plus 3, so 496, 499, right? So power of 5 in 2000 factorial, this is 499. So therefore you will have at the end of 2000 factorial we have 499 zeros, right? Because power of 2 will be definitely more than 499 only, right? This will be so much, 1000, it will be more than 1000, and power of 5 is 499, so you will get only 499 zeros, and rest of powers of 2 will be remaining as it is. Fine. So I think this is very clear to you. Say if I ask you find maximum power of say 6, or 6 in say 100 factorial, right? So see, you can't do directly this process, right? Don't do this process, because 6 is not a prime, so this process is not valid, right? So 6 you write it as 2 into 3 and find powers of 2 and 3, right? So power of 2 we already know 97, right? And power of 3 we know it is 48, right? Into 5 power something, 7 power something, and so on. So to get 1 6 you need to have 1 2 and 1 3. So you can write this as 2 power 48, 3 power 48, and 2 power rest of the thing. So that will be 49 and 5 power something, 7 power something, and so on. So you will get 6 power maximum 48 only, right? And the rest of the things will be left as it is. Fine. So maximum power of 6 is 48, right? In 100 factorial the maximum power of 6 is 48. Fine. Say if I ask you to count the maximum power of 12 in 100 factorial, right? Find maximum power of 12 in 100 factorial. So you can't do that process because 12 is not a prime, right? So this, if you start with this step, then you will get wrong answer, because 12 is not a prime. So again what we'll do is 12 is what? It is 2 square into 3, right? 12 is 2 square into 3. So to get 112 you need 2 2's and 1 3, right? So for 112 we need 2 2's and 1 3, right? So this 100 factorial is 2 power 98, sorry, this is 2 power say 97, 3 power 48 and so on, right? So you can write this as 2 power, you have 3 power 48. So if you have 2 power 48 whole square, that will be fine, and you have, right, 2 power 48 whole square is 2 power 96. So you'll left with one more 2 and 5 power something, 7 power something and so on. So this entire thing, that is 2 square into 3 whole power 48 and 2 power something, 5 power something. So this is nothing but you'll get 12 power 48, right? So maximum power of 12 is 48, right? Maximum power of 12 in 100 factorial is nothing but 48, right? If I ask you maximum power of 24 in 100 factorial, so again you do the same thing. 24 you write it as 2 cube into 3 because it is not a prime. So now search how many 2 cubes and 3 you are getting. So 100 factorial, this is 2 power 97, 3 power 48, 5 power something, 7 power something, and that is not required. So you see, you have 3 power 48, but do you have 2 power 48 whole cube? No, that is not available only, right? That is not available. So maximum we can get is, you need 2 cube multiples of 2 cubes. So 2 cube whole power, this is 3 3s are 9 and 32, right? Into 2 into 3 power 48 and something. So you have 2 cube whole power 32. This 3 power 48 you just take 3 power 32 and 3 power 16 and 5 power something something, right? So this is 2 cube into 3 whole power 32, and this is 2 3 power 16 5 power something something. So this you will get 24 power 32, and this rest of the things will be left as it is, because this, from this you can't get any 24, right? This is not possible to get 24 from here, because you need at least 3 2's and 1 3 to get 124, right? To get 124 you need 3 2's and 1 3. So you can't get 24 from here. So maximum power of 24, maximum power of 24 in 100 factorial is how much? It is nothing but 32 only, right? So I think this is very clear to you. Now let us do one more question. Say find the value of greatest integer of root 1 plus greatest integer of root 2 plus greatest integer of root 3 plus so on plus greatest integer of root 100. Fine. So you can pause the video and you can try this, right? You can pause this and pause the video and you can try this, and then we can discuss. Yes, so let us solve this problem. See, root 1 is 1, root 2 1 point something, root 3 1 point something, root 4 is again 2, right? So all these greatest integer root 1, greatest integer root 2, greatest integer root 3, all this will be 1 because these are 1 point something, and greatest integer root 4 will be how much? It will be 2. Greatest integer root 5, it will be also 2. Till where? Till greatest integer of root 8, right? But when you go to greatest integer of root 9, this will be 3, right? Because root 9 is 3, whereas root 8 is 2 point something, and this greatest integer root 10, this will be 3 point something, so its greatest integer will be 3 only, till root 15, right? But then if you go to root 16, it will be 4, right? Root 17 greatest integer, this will also be 4, till root 24. Yes, if you take root 25, this will be 5, isn't it? So the concept is that if you have k square is less than n is less than k plus 1 whole square, right? If I sandwich any number between two consecutive perfect squares, I can do that, right? Any natural number, say 8 I can sandwich between 1 square, 2 square and 3 square. Say you have 22, you can sandwich 22 between say 4 square and 5 square. So this means that greatest integer of 22 will be 4 only, right? Greatest integer of n will be k, right? So this is the concept. So by this you can easily do. So for from 1 to 3 you will get the answer as 3, so for 1 to 3 you will get answer as 1 only, right? So greatest integer of let us just do this problem by using this concept, right? If n is sandwiched between two consecutive perfect squares, then its greatest integer is k, right? If you have 22, you can sandwich between 4 square and 5 square. So if you have 72, you can sandwich 72 between 8 square and 9 square. So root 72 greatest integer will be how much? It will be 8, right? So greatest integer of root n, not n, greatest integer of root n will be k. Fine. So why this greatest integer root n is k? Because you can write in this way, right? That k square is less than n less than k plus 1 whole square means k is less than root n is less than k plus 1. And here we can take equal to sign. Here we can take equal to sign. Yes, because between two consecutive integers k and k plus 1, right, you have root n, so its greatest integer must be k only, right? Because you have studied that greatest integer x is less than or equal to x is less than greatest integer x plus 1. So this root n is sandwiched between two integers k and k plus 1, so its greatest integer is k, right? So now you can easily do this. So greatest integer, say for 1 less than or equal to n less than or equal to 3, greatest integer root n is 1. For 4 less than or equal to n less than or equal to 8, greatest integer of root n is how much? 2. For 9 less than or equal to n less than or equal to 15, greatest integer of root n is how much? It is 3 only, right? For 16 less than or equal to n less than or equal to 24, greatest integer of root n is 4. From 25 to 36, sorry, from 25 to 35, greatest integer root n is 5. And then you can do this, right? From 36 to 49, you will have it as 6. From 49 to say 64, you will have greatest integer root n as 7. From 64 to 81, you will have greatest integer root n as 8, right? Sorry, to 80. This is also till 48, and this is from 63. And from 81 to 99, you will have greatest integer root n as 9. And if n is equals to 100, right, greatest integer root n is 10. Fine. So if you add all these, right, that is greatest integer of root 1 plus root 2 plus root 3 plus so on plus root 100. So see, 1 you will get how many times? 3 times, right? Then 2 you will get how many times? See, 2 you will get how many times means this is 3 square minus 1, this is 2 square, right? So 3 square minus 1 minus 2 square plus 1. So you will get 3 square minus 2 square times 2. You can see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many numbers are these? These are 8 minus 4 plus 1 numbers. That is 5 numbers are these, right? So 2, 2, 2 you will have 5 times, right? And then 3, 3, 3 you will have how many times? You will have 3, 3, 3 from 9 to 15. So these are 15 minus 9 plus 1, that is say 7 numbers, right? So 7 times. Then 4 plus 4 plus 4, how many times you will have? You will be having from 16 to 24, that is 24 minus 16 plus 1, so 24 plus 1, 25 minus 16, that is 5 square minus 4 square times. This is 5 square minus 4 square times, and so on. So this is 1 into 3 plus this is 2 into 5 plus 3 into 7 plus this 4 into this is 5 square minus 4 square is 5 plus 4 into 5 minus 4, that is 9, right? Then 5, 5, 5, that will be how many times? It will be 6 square minus 5 square times. So 6 minus 5 into 6 plus 5, that will be 11. And then 6 into 13, 7 into 15 plus 8 into 17, right, plus 9 into 19 plus 10 is only one time because that is root 100, that is only 10. So you can compute this and you will get the final answer, right? So I mean, if this is a large number, instead of say 100, if I give you 2000, then you can't add all this, right? Then we'll see how to do such problems when we study sequence and series, right? We'll be using sigma notations that will be making our job very easy. So but for now, just to have an idea of this, we have taken this problem that is still 100. Fine. So you just copy down the solution, and yes, this is it for today's session, and I'll send the assignment in the group.